Alright, what's going on, guys? It's me, it's Stevie Stroh, and I'm back with another video that kind of combines the two concepts and two projects that I wanted to learn and do and accomplish last week, and it brings them both together. And spoiler alert, there is a happy ending at the end of all this. So last week I recorded two videos. The first video I recorded and released was showing you my development environment, where I was using an editor by John Strong to use a Windows GUI tool to use a modern notepad style editor to edit basic programs on a wireless SD card. And the cool thing about that was I could get a lot of things done pretty seamlessly. The one drawback to that was on the CoCo side of things, I could not write back to the disk image once it had been touched by Windows in my GUI tool. So it was kind of a downstream feeding of content. I could not feed it back up from the CoCo. Not the end of the world, but in a perfect world, that wouldn't be a problem. The second video I released was me learning how to install and use Python DriveWire, which I then used to do a Telnet into a BBS using DWTerm, which is a work-in-progress terminal program that runs over the DriveWire protocol in normal disk BASIC. So I've done some editing on an SD card. I've done some terminaling on DriveWire. Now I want to bring these two worlds together, and I want to do editing over DriveWire, and I want to be able to do this to where I can edit files on my CoCo and on my PC and be able to save on either side and have those saves committed to where both sides can see them. And the good news is I can. And I've done it, and I've tried it, and I've tested it, and it works. So I'm now going to show you what it looks like and how I'm doing it and how you can do it too, assuming you want to get John's tool or use something similar to your own. So what we see here right now is just, this is my real CoCo 3 that's being displayed on a video capture device. Now I've put all my DriveWire stuff in a folder on my desktop that I'm calling DW. As of just today, I've created this little batch file to launch DriveWire for me. And this is the command that you would ordinarily run from a command prompt. So it's PyDriveWire, which is the actual name of the executable file. I'm setting my user interface port to 6800. That's what the web server will run on. I'm telling it that my PC is connected via COM4 and to connect to a speed of 115.2K. So as soon as I run this now batch file, it's launching that command, and it's launching the DriveWire server. The DriveWire server is now up. This is now the real-time status monitor output window. I've also made a quick shortcut to the web browser, which is basically localhost :6800 is the address there. And so now this is the web UI that I can use to mount images into DriveWire. Now, what I had to discover yesterday, and now I know what the problem was and what the solution is, I'm about to show you. Hopefully this is not going to get too technical. What I had been doing in the past was using the choose file option to browse to my DWTerm.disk file to mount that disk file in here. Now, what had happened automatically was this. This is what Michael Furman has told me. This is a web browser security feature. Rather than allowing this web application to directly have access to my file system and files on my local machine, it is making a copy of this disk into a temporary location, which is on Windows, it's your username /appdata/local/temp, blah, 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 right? So how do I fix this? I don't want it to be in the temp file because I want my server mounted to the disk image that's in the same location as my GUI tool. So let's eject that real quick. And let's just do it the old-fashioned way. And I'm going to copy and paste in here the path, right? So here is the path to the file. The path in my case here is, I'm getting rid of the word N. So it's, /user/steve/desktop/dw / and then it is the name of the entire disk image that I'm going to copy and mount here and paste in here. And so if I manually feed in the path of my user's desktop DWTerm blah 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 DWTerm.disk and hit insert, it's now been mounted. And when I look here in my status bar, it also shows me that the path to where it's mounting the disk image is what's on my desktop. And that's the disk image I want it to be on. I want it to be on that disk image on my desktop, because that's also where I'm going to be pointing my GUI tool. So now what's the next thing I'm going to do? I have to mount that drive via my CoCo SDC and access it. So the command for that is drive3, #3, 0. That will mount it. Then I type in drive3, and then if I type in dir, this is the directory of that. Now I was playing around with a test file yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and just kill that test file, and we'll make a new one. So right now there is no test file on the disk. So step 1, create a program. This was done on the CoCo. So line 10 is just that. So when I list it, line 10, when I run it, that's that. When I save it as test, and I type in dir, here's my test. If I load it back, and I load my test, and I list my test, there's my one line. Okay, so I've made a program. I've saved that program to my disk. I've loaded the program back from disk, so I know that currently right now, my real CoCo via DriveWire is able to read and write to that disk image over DriveWire. I now open up my John Strong disk tool, and I already have it remembered the DWTerm in the path that I mounted. So I'm just going to click on that to mount it. Here's my test file, and now here's my PC editor that's showing me the same program. So here we see on the CoCo 10 print, this was done on the CoCo. Here it is, and now from my PC I can do 20 print, well, I have to remember to be in all caps, 20 print. This was done on the PC. Okay, so I'm just going to hit file save. I'm going to save this file. It's going to say, do you want to replace? Because it's existing. Yes. Now I'm going to close the file, and I'm not even going to go through the whole unmount rigmarole. I just closed the file so it's no longer open. Now if I load back the file on my real CoCo, and then I do a list, here it is. There's my line 20 that I typed on my PC. So when I run it, this was done on the CoCo, this was done on the PC. So I can now read and write on either side. I can do my heavy lifting and my bulk typing on the real keyboard using a nice editor. And then if I need to do real quick and dirty changes on the CoCo by using the edit command and tweaking one thing to see if it worked, and if it worked and then I want to save it, I can do that. I can have my cake, I can eat my cake, and life is good, cake is good, the CoCo is awesome, DriveWire is awesome, and this disk tool for me is awesome too. So I am now able to have a development environment in BASIC anyways. There's actually easier ways to do it with assembly and all the other fancy tools like LWASM and DECB and all that kind of stuff. So, but for me, who doesn't know how to do all the fancy stuff, this is my not so fancy, but now highly effective and highly efficient way of doing things. And hopefully this was of interest, of possible benefit and use to you at a future date and time. So CoCo forever, get to coding, make some software. We want to see it. All right, take care. Bye-bye, everybody.